This is Racing Education, a series that aims to open the doors on the incredible sport of horse racing. Join us as we get behind the scenes with some of the people who make the sport possible, from breeding right to the track.
This is where the owners source the raw material. This is where they come to find their future champions.
Horses will have 36 views basically.
And you do that for every horse that you look at?
If we're asked to, yeah.
Wow.
Myself and about 9 or 10 other people go all around Europe, France, Germany, Ireland, and England, America as well.
You just have to be there 24/7 just watching how they develop, how they evolve.
Like humans, we all develop at a different rate.
We're buying the dream here. Dreams can turn into nightmares as well.
What is it that you're looking for in each of those horses?
Something fast. As simple as that. It's fast and sound.
It's like buying a third, fourth division player and bringing him to the Premier League, and he's competing well in the Premier League, you know.
Like Jamie Vardy?
Yeah, well, exactly. It does happen in our industry. If it didn't, I'd be finished, you know.
In this episode, we're here at the historic Tattersalls, the leading sales company in Britain, to find out more about what to look out for when buying a racehorse. It's not uncommon for unraced horses to change hands for millions of guineas here at Book 1 of the October Yearling Sale. The most expensive yearling in Europe, Al Namar, cost a whopping 5 million guineas back in 2013. Come with us to find out all the important information, like how significant is a horse's bloodline, or its family tree, if you will. What physical traits should you watch out for? And if you weren't born in the pre-decimal era, what on earth is a guinea?
These are hard-working people, these salespeople.
Yeah.
The 16-hour days you'll do now, Libby, won't you?
Yeah, just about, yeah. You need to love it.
You look at the individual soundness, make sure all the legs are in the right position. As you can see with this horse, he's
got 4 of them, yeah?
Yeah, there's 4 of them, but he's fairly correct.
Now you can see that straight away. You can see if his walk's any good, if he's going to be a good racehorse.
Within 6 strides, you know if he's a good walker or not. Now this horse is a great moving horse. These are the best bred horses in Europe here. So with the premium horses, they make premium prices, you know. So what we're trying to do is try and find the horses that we like, that we feel we might be able to afford. We'll just give him one more walk down. You just see when he, you know, his whole demeanour, his whole attitude is very relaxed. And
yeah. How much risk is there involved? Obviously, you know that the horse's pedigree, his family tree, but you know, you're spending a lot of money here. There's no guarantee. I mean, if somebody had bought Callum Best, for instance, based on the fact that his dad was George Best, they'd have been disappointed.
It doesn't always work. This is the premier sale. To get in this sale, they've got to be above average.
So in the Book 1, there's significantly less risk, which is why they're selling for so much money.
Exactly. And they'll have 42 x-rays, these horses. They'll have a video scope to say that the wind's all right. Your heart, eyes, everything will be tested. So you're more or less guaranteed the quality is here, and it's just whether we can afford them.
Well, the yearling sales are basically the first opportunity for most owners to come and buy their future racehorses. So the flat thoroughbred will not start racing until it's 2 years old. So they're nearly there. So their birthday is on January the 1st. So these are yearlings. They will all turn 2 on January the 1st. And the flat turf season starts end of March. And that's the first opportunity for a thoroughbred to race, is at the beginning of its 2-year-old season. So they're buying with a view to putting them straight into training now and to have them ready for their 2-year-old season. Some will run, you know, they in terms of maturity, like humans, we all develop at a different rate. Some of them will run early in their 2-year-old career, some of them, you know, midway through, some of them later. Some of them won't run till they're 3 or maybe even 4, particularly with jumpers. They're slower maturing types. These are all flat horses here. This is where the owners source the raw material. This is where they come to find their future champions.
What is meant by the horse's pedigree? Is that something that's looked into by the Tattersalls staff before the sales?
Yeah, absolutely. So every yearling that we catalogue, every horse we catalogue, doesn't matter what category it is, could be foal, yearling, 2-year-old in training, horse in training, broodmare. Every horse has its own catalogue page where we have the details of its family. So it's mother and father are the basic information, but also brothers and sisters, grandparents, great-grandparents, etc., etc. So it's a very important part of the equation when people come to buy a thoroughbred. They sort of match up pedigree with looks and try to find the best racehorse they possibly can based on the information that they have.
You and your team, you're here for every sale.
Yes, definitely. I mean, Robin, my son Peter, Mouse we call him. I don't even know his first name, Mouse Orion, and Mags O'Toole will generally get round every single horse. We're all computerised now. I've got notes on every single horse that's gone through the ring here. To be honest, when you look at this sale, there's not actually many trainers buying here. It's generally the bloodstock agents. The Americans are in, the Australians are in, the Middle Eastern owners are in. So you tend to find at this sale you won't actually see many trainers actually buying a horse.
Right.
It'll be generally done through the bloodstock agents or the Godolphin team through their team or the Coolmore team through their team. But we have to be here just in case one slips through the net.
If I was to say pick up an 800 guinea bargain in book 4, how likely is it that that horse would turn into a successful racehorse?
The chances are limited. But the reality of it, it does happen. If it didn't happen, I would be completely out of business. You know, the guys with the most money would buy the best horses, but we can compete, you know, which is the beauty about our industry.
So as a breeder then, when you're bringing 2 horses together essentially, what is it that you're looking for in each of those horses?
Something fast.
Yeah.
As simple as that. It's fast and sound.
So what about, do you need to light candles for the horses? What do you do? Do you make it romantic or what?
No, it's more wham bam, thank you, Bob. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
yes.
Most of the time.
I can relate to that. Okay, and it's always all natural. You just let them.
Yeah, natural.
There's no artificial.
No. It's very simple.
Okay. So how much work goes into getting a colt like this to the auction? What about the work before he gets here?
Yeah, well, it's a long process. You do the mating. The mare is pregnant for 11 months. It's a foal for a year. It's a yearling for 9 months, 10 months here now. So it's almost 3 years' work, and then the preparation intensifies in the last 10 weeks, 8 to 10 weeks beforehand. They come indoors, they're fed, their work rate gradually increases. We let them out to the paddocks after they work every morning. They come in for lunch and they're in for the afternoon then, and any treats and grooming and anything else needs to be done with them is done in the afternoon. But that sort of intensifies as you get closer to the sale, so your work rate builds up. The preparation is sort of tailor-made to suit most individual horses. You know, if they need a bit of tweaking left and right, we do that.
Okay.
And their diets are done accordingly, you know. So it's a lot of just observation. All this game is just observation. You just have to be there 24/7 just watching how they develop, how they evolve. So when the pressure is increased and the workload is increased, you just have to be sure that they're comfortable with it.
How hard is it to make your money back on a horse?
Pretty
And
difficult.
profit?
Pretty difficult. You need a spread of horses, you know, and to a degree there is safety in numbers. But yet you have to if you have too many numbers, then you dilute the whole input into them. So that just sort of, you know, it's a balanced thing that you're trying to equate, and you're just trying to start with the right product, which is the broodmare, and then you evaluate what the right mating is for her, bloodline, physically, you know, character-wise, temperament. Trying to marry those two things together to have the right result subsequently.
This is the pre-parade ring here at Tattersalls. This is where the lots, or the young horses, the yearlings, get paraded in front of prospective buyers. They're looking at the muscle tone, they're looking at whatever potential they can see in these young horses before they then go inside into the auction ring and place bids on these horses. So what we're going to do now, we're going to head into the auction ring with Richard Fahey, and we're going to see what happens.
I'm just getting a feeling off the auctioneer what's happening. It looks like there's probably 100 grand on him, you know.
Oh, he's selling now, apologies. Right, he's 100,000 now. So at the minute the breeder's not making a lot of money out of him. It'll cost that to make. It's the sort of horse I'd like to buy at sort of about this price now, about 110, 120,
So at what point would you show your hand if there's interest?
I was half thinking of bidding there, but I won't now. It's a little bit too pricey for me. I don't have the money to buy this. I would like to train him.
Is it possible to get the expenditure back through prize money alone?
It can happen, yeah. It can happen. If he ended up a champion, yes. And then if he ends up winning the Derby, he's syndicated for 10, 15 million.
There's so much speculating to accumulate. It's so risky.
It's dreams. It's all about dreaming.
A question that I guess a lot of people watching might want to ask is it just about winning?
Yes.
Yeah.
End of story.
Okay.
End of story.
Second or third, no.
Second is first loser. It's no good. It's about winning.
And so there's not enough money to be made in finishing second or third.
It's not about money. No, we're in a competitive world, and we want to beat everyone. I'm afraid our job is to win every race we run. And deep down, I'm never happy with finishing second. I'm never happy finishing third. But I want to win. I want to win every race I run in.
Are you worried about going to speak to an owner if the horse doesn't win?
As I've got older, I've sort of been able to cope with it better. But early on, I was, if I thought one would win and he ran disappointing, I would be more upset than the owner, if that makes sense. Because I'm upset for him, I'm upset for me. Because I think a lot of owners probably don't appreciate the trainers need it more than them. Now they're paying the bills. Don't get me wrong, but it's my business to train winners. And when they don't win, I'm as disappointed as them. We're running the business. And the more winners we get, the more successful we are, which goes in any business, we've got 75 staff. My monthly bill for staff is nearly just short of 40,000. And then we've got to feed the horses, we've got to do all that. But look, we're very lucky. I'm in an industry I love. I don't regard it as work. But we have good days and bad days. I get frustrated some days, and then try and enjoy the real good days.
So at these sales, a vet's role basically is to usually examine the horse pre-sale. So we'll do a physical exam. So we'll do heart, eyes, if it's a colt, check it's got 2 testicles, filly, just make sure it's normal, everything looks normal. Then obviously his limbs, his joints, see if there's any abnormal swellings, anything that might be just worry us when it starts to train that something might go wrong.
Okay, and who are you doing this for?
Usually a trainer, sometimes agents who are acting for owners. Sometimes owners directly, they'll buy their own horses as well.
So it's a pretty crucial role that you play.
Yeah, it's just a little safety net that we just don't end up buying a problem.
So you've got an X-ray on screen here, just as an example of the type of thing you look at. What are we looking at here?
This is a fetlock. This is just one view. Horses will have 36 views basically.
And you do that for every horse that you look at?
Well, if we're asked to, yeah.
Wow.
So every joint basically is covered. There'll be basically 4 views in most joints, just to cover all the angles. See if there's any just little problems that horses can be born with them, develop them. Just little things that you don't want to be buying, or at least know you're buying them. You don't want any surprises.
And this example we're looking at here, is this a perfect? What is that? A knee?
This is a fetlock actually.
Fetlock. So a fetlock is a horse's.
It's kind of like our ankle, so it's
ankle. Okay.
So their knees have it on the leg, next joint down.
I understand. Yeah, I can see.
The Americans will call it an ankle.
We go round in April, May time and we look at them on the farms and we do a selection process.
Wow.
And then we put together a catalogue and we try and make it around 500 horses for the sale. and we try and make it the best yearlings in Europe.
Wow. So that's down to you, the yearlings.
Well,
that are in
myself and about 9 or 10 other people. Yeah. So we go around all around Europe, France, Germany, Ireland, and England, UK, some from America as well. It's where all the big priced and the best bred yearlings are, and the best physically conformed yearlings are. It's the number one yearling sale definitely in Europe and possibly in the world as well.
Wow.
In quality, regards to quality, and we have great success from it.
And that's down to the legwork you put in before the sale.
Yeah, it's down to the legwork we put in, but it's also down to the loyalty of our vendor base as well, our consigners. So they send us top horses year in, year out. So the whole process really starts in our December sales, in sort of at the end of November, beginning of December, and we have the breeding stock sale, where we have the mares and the fillies who are going to get covered the next year, and then the following year, if they're in foal, we get to sell the foals, and then you get the pinhookers, and a pinhooker is someone who buys a foal for X amount and then tries to reproduce it the following year as a yearling to try and make some profit.
Okay.
And then the yearling goes into the process of going into training, and then once they're finished training, maybe they'll come back to our horses in training sale and be sold there as well.
Wow.
So it's an ever churning circle.
Why do you still deal in guineas?
Tradition. Well, I think we're the only auction house that does. So it was. So the guinea is £1.05, and the 5p, which is 5%, obviously, is what the auction house charge.
Fine. So it's almost like a polite way of saying, don't forget our 5p.
Yeah, it is. So so essentially, if we sell something for £1 million guineas, we pay out £1 million.
Wow. Okay.
But we take the 5%, so it'll be £1,050,000. So, and that's our percentage that we take in charge. So, and I think we are still the only auction house in the country to use the guinea.
As far as my research shows.
Yeah. So it's a tradition we'll keep, I think.
Yeah, forever.
Yeah, I think. Well, for now.
Yeah.
No need to change.
At what point would you start making your money back on a horse that you've, because the money doesn't, once you've spent here, it doesn't stop then, does it? You've got to put the money into the training, the feed.
Yeah, it's buying them is a big part of it. It's the most expensive part. The training part, hopefully that, you're looking at sort of 25 grand a year to train him. But this is sort of horse now. If he ended up a nice horse, he's a staying horse, and he won a couple of maidens or handicaps or something, there'd be jumping boys would want him, the Australians would want him, and his x-rays are clean, everything is good.
So you're more likely to make the money back from selling him on?
Selling him on rather
not
than
through prize money?
Yeah.
But that's what makes it such an interesting sport, isn't it?
Well, John Warren bought him, so it looks like he's gone to Highclere, and to be fair to this horse, that's the sort of horse that was. He's a nice scopy, good loose walking, x-rays were clean, everything was clean. If I owned him, I would want that for him. So the breeder's got a return on him, everybody's happy. John Warren's bought a lovely horse, but he won't be running in March. He'll be back in 2-year-old, 3-year-old time.
Are you ever bitter or jealous? You see somebody get a horse and
I get really annoyed sometimes.
There's an amazing history behind the sport of horse racing. I mean, obviously it started here in Newmarket. King Charles II and a few of his mates basically racing their own horses against each other, and he chose a really good spot for it.
Amazing. So that's why Newmarket's the home of horse racing?
Yeah, he sort of started the sport and found a hell of a spot to do it, because the ground here, I mean, the gallops in Newmarket, you'd struggle to find better turf in the country for training racehorses and racing them.
And is the reason that Tattersalls is here because of that history?
Yeah, I mean, for a sales company like ourselves, it makes sense to be in the hub of the racing and breeding industry, and Newmarket isn't just the UK hub, it's basically the European hub of racing and breeding, so it makes a lot of sense for us to be here. There's nearly 80 trainers based in and around the town, and a lot of the world's biggest owner breeders as well, breeding some of the best thoroughbreds in the world, so it makes sense for us to be here.
I can see a lot of similarities between this and sort of like buying a footballer. I know footballers don't go to auction, but there are managers that want to get their hands on certain
on the best footballers, and they can't afford them. Exactly. I mean, I do compare myself. I'm sort of competing in the Premier League, but when I go to the sales, I'm trying to buy with sort of third division money, and it does frustrate me, very frustrating. But the beauty is we can make it work. We can buy some nice horses at the lower level and compete at the very top level. You know, it's like buying a third, fourth division player and bringing him to the Premier League, and he's competing well in the Premier League, you know.
Like Jamie Vardy.
Yeah, exactly. It does happen in our industry. If it didn't, I'd be finished, you know. I'd be finished.
So he's about to go for a wind test now. He's just been sold. What is the wind test? Tell us what happens there.
The wind test, you just go down to a lunge ring, which is a purpose-built arena, to get lunged around maybe 2 or 3 minutes each side, and unless they make an abnormal sound, or they're heard to make an abnormal sound, it's in the presence of a vet. You know, once they've completed that, the sale is done and dusted. If they make an abnormal sound, they can be scoped, which is looking down with a scope down to their larynx. If that's normal and looks A1, they can have a little infection or whatever, but 9 times out of 10 there's no issue with it.
Okay, and then what happens? How do you deliver the horse to the buyer? I take it you don't send them via like.
Well,
courier.
Alan here is looking after the transport of the horse. He said he'll go out to an overnight yard initially, and then he'll probably go to John Moran's Highclere stud, I'd say.
Okay.
And he's been bought for a syndicate, so then they'll have viewing days there. People will be invited to come and look, and if they want to participate in the syndication of the horse, so it just broadens the ownership significantly.
How often do you pick up a horse from the auction, for instance, and turn them into winners, if that's not a silly question to ask?
Well, to be honest, it happens a lot. I mean, we've probably got the champion 2-year-old this year in Perfect Power. He was bought for 110,000, which is a lot of money. Funny enough, he was not sold as a yearling for 18,000. People didn't like him as a yearling. He went to the breeze up sales in August, and we bought him for 110. I think he's the top 2-year-old in Europe at the moment. So that's a perfect example. He could have been bought for 20,000 as a yearling. The vendor wanted 20, didn't get it, took him back to the breeze up. He got 110, and he's ended up, well, he is champion 2-year-old in Europe at the minute. Perfect Power, he's won his last 2 group. He's a Royal Ascot winner, and he's won 2 Group 1. So it does happen. It does happen.
And you saw that in the horse early on?
Well, we liked him. There's no guarantee in this job, I'm afraid. You can buy the most perfect horse. I mean, I think that they bought a horse for 10.2 million in America. I think they call it something monkey or something. And I'm afraid he wasn't a good racehorse, you know. So it doesn't guarantee it, but you've more of an opportunity if you're buying a nice horse with a good pedigree. He's more of a chance of winning than the likes of Perfect Power. But Perfect Power's come along, 110,000. He's won 2 Group 1s and a Royal Ascot winner this year. Champion European 2-year-old. That's why I'm here, because things like that do happen.
Well, there you have it, the beginning of the journey for these young racehorses. Although, as it turns out, it's not quite the beginning. A lot of legwork goes into these young horses, or yearlings, as we learnt today, before they get to this point at the sales at Tattersalls. The hope is, of course, that some of these young horses will go on to be future champions, but I think that is the key word. That's the word we're going to take away today, is hope. This could be the place where your dreams of becoming a champion trainer, champion jockey, champion owner, where those dreams start, but it could also be the start of a financial nightmare for you. You need commitment, you need to be willing to put in the work, and from speaking to Richard Fahey and everyone else we've spoken to today, that is the key. Hope and hard work.